Welcome back to Drive Through Penalty. I'm Sean, and I'm here with my father, Craig, and we're kicking off the 2026 season.
And I'm glad we're back for the second season, and I'm very excited with all the rule changes and everything, what is in store for us this year. But, you know, a year ago, we started this podcast trying to help people in the F1 fantasy pool. And because we had joined and we had found out that there wasn't a lot of places of interest that we could get real information. And like, for instance, a year ago on the F1 pool, there was 2.1 million teams. And by the end of the year, there was 3.2 million teams. And, you know, to say, well, you know, what are these two clowns doing giving us advice on who to pick in that? And rightfully so, you're entitled to think that. But I will tell you that my team, I came second in our pool. My team was in the top 1% of the world. Sean's team, who came third in our pool, was in the top 1%. Okay, so maybe we're on to something here, I don't know, but we're more than willing to share that with you again this upcoming year. But we've evolved now, so you're going to get all kinds of F1 stuff from us.
So not only do we cover last week's race, we do a race preview. I jump in my sim and do a lap at the upcoming track for you guys to get a feel for what it's like. And Craig always has a little interesting bit on some of the history for where the race is or the circuit or the track. But I think you guys are really going to like this season. As you can see, we've changed things up just a little bit. We still have lots more in store for you. But thanks again for tuning in for this one. And I say we just jump right into this.
Well, yeah, we have upgraded our audio, we've upgraded our visual, and quite frankly, we're both maybe a little bit better looking this year.
So for anyone following along, there have been some major changes in the F1 world this year. From cars, to circuits, to regulations, to losing DRS, to 50% battery engines. There's a ton going on. And there's not a lot out there. There's a lot of speculation. Nobody knows which teams are going to be the best this year. So, you know, I think for fantasy, it's going to really shake things up. You know, last year it was McLaren, Red Bull all year long. But nobody knows right now who these good constructors are going to be. Nobody knows which drivers are going to be able to perform well, you know, with the new technology, the new car. It's going to be completely different.
So this is the interesting part. And maybe we'll try and cover off some of it tonight. But the cars are going to be smaller, they're going to be more narrow, they're shorter. It raises the ability to be able to pass, which if you watched last year, I love passing. So I think what we should try and do here, Sean, is let's do categories of the constructors. And I'm going to give you like groups of three, and I'm going to ask you to give me the one that you has the best shot in 2026. Now, when we're finished this could mean absolutely nothing because 3 weeks from now, they start doing the process of the test laps and we'll start to learn more about which teams are the cream of the crop. But let me ask you, for instance, Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes. Out of those three teams, who do you think is going to be the best bet, especially when you're setting up your fantasy, but just the best bet on the constructors' champion?
So of course we don't know in terms of fantasy what each team's going to be valued at, but that's all right. We can still kind of get an idea for which direction we want to go.
Those three teams are going to be worth the same.
Probably. So that being said, there's been a lot of news recently about Red Bull and Mercedes kind of finding a loophole in the new technology, which might actually give them a tenth of a second extra down the straights. That being said, we might get a Max Verstappen, George Russell showdown this season, and I would be perfectly okay with that. So out of those three teams, I'm going to say Red Bull and Mercedes.
You get one pick.
One pick?
Who are you going to take out of those three? You can't take both teams in your fantasy.
Okay, I'm going to say Red Bull.
Okay. So myself, I'm going to go with probably Mercedes because I think Mercedes probably will have the better engine of everybody. Okay. And a Red Bull is starting with Ford. So I don't know what Ford's engine is going to be like right off the bat. So that kind of eliminates Red Bull. And I'm going to go with Mercedes because I think it's the motherland of the new engines and everything, because McLaren runs a Mercedes engine as well. So for that first grouping of three, I'm going to go with Mercedes, and I'm going to go, yeah, George Russell is going to be a major factor, and don't rule out Kimi Antonelli.
No, we definitely can't rule out Kimi Antonelli. He had a strong finish to the season last year, and the kid's just getting going. So yeah, who knows? He might even give George a run for their money for that top seat this year.
The next group we'll discuss, the threesome, is going to be Ferrari, Williams, and Race Bull.
Well, I haven't heard too many positive things about Ferrari's development, but as we spoke a little bit about last season, I think that Williams is going to be a big sleeper this year, and I'll tell you why. Who's their biggest sponsor? It's Duracell. And as you know, this year we're all about battery power. So I have, a sneaking suspicion that we're going to get a lot more out of Williams than we did last year. And again, Carlos Sainz is the man, and I think he's just going to take well to, this new technology, the upgrades of the car, and I'm going to say Williams, actually.
I can't disagree. But I might like Williams for a different reason than you, though. I like Williams because they have the Mercedes engine. They do have new members on the team last year that affected it. They went from 9th to 5th place overall. So they're on a nice curve right now. I'm going to go with Williams. I think they got decent drivers, right? And I'm still struggling with anything Ferrari because of that dissension within the team last year. It looks like nobody gets along, even those two drivers. It's like everybody is swimming upstream.
It really does. And, we were just kind of chatting about this before we started the pod here, but there's a lot of new tech in the steering wheel, and maybe some of the older guys might not take as well to this new stuff. So, we have a veteran in there, Lewis Hamilton. I don't know how he's going to feel about the active aero, the boost, the overtaking. It's going to be interesting. So what about the next group?
So the next group's going to be Alpine, Haas, and Aston Martin. And this will be an interesting group for sure.
Well, I definitely have my answer already locked in for this one, and it is Aston Martin. I love that Adrian Newey is the new team principal here, and who's better than he is?
And they took engineers too. I mean, Aston Martin has spent a tremendous amount of money to get where they are. Question mark on Aston Martin is the power plant. It's going to be Honda. Now, Adrian Newey has worked with Honda before, I think for 3 years when he was at Red Bull. So, listen, you got to have faith in this guy. Are the drivers good enough? I don't know. I mean, we're Canadian, and we don't know what to think of Stroll. It's with all the new technology, as Sean briefly mentioned earlier, is this just too much new stuff to learn for Fernando Alonso? So, with Newey now, also the team principal, he might have to move Lance out, which I think is probably easier than Mr. Stroll getting rid of his son.
And maybe that's partially the reason they put him in when they did.
I think so.
So, again, we're Canadian. I would love to support Lance Stroll. I don't dislike the guy, but I don't think he's the right guy for the job. And I'd love to see one of those rookies get in there and take a spot.
And the other teams, Haas, I have a soft spot for Haas, and I think they're trying harder. Alpine, I don't know what to think of Alpine. So the final grouping, and this is going to be fun, is Cadillac and Audi. I got to tell you, I'm an Audi fan. They've done very, very well in racing in Europe. At the same time, Cadillac, I mean, if you go see some of the IMSA races, stuff like that, Cadillac's there, and I think there's a brute force behind Cadillac too. I think they want to become the American brand in Formula One, and as you know, Vegas has the headquarters now and everything. So I'm going to go with Audi. Audi has developed their own engine. Cadillac's using Ferrari.
So aside from the car, I'm also looking at the drivers driving them. So I really like the Cadillac pairing, I think, a little bit more.
I'm just concerned that the cars, I think you have to be within 5 seconds in qualifying or something, or you don't get to start. And I've read articles where they're actually concerned about that. So
And Audi got to take all that data from Kick last year and kind of apply it to their new racing team, while Cadillac's starting from scratch.
Audi's built the engine. Audi's done everything. Audi is part of the Volkswagen empire, which also has Porsche and Lamborghini. So there's some quick cars in that group. Cadillac's Cadillac.
Okay, so now that we have our constructor prospects.
And Sean, again, folks, this is before we've seen any testing of cars because they're not allowed to. This whole thing could change. Cadillac could come out and be 10 seconds faster than everybody, and Ferrari's second, and we're going to look like idiots. But
Well, I mean, I'd love to see that happen, but out of the drivers now. So, we picked, if you played fantasy before, you have 2 slots for your constructors. And the way the game works is you kind of treat your assets like stock. So every week they go up in value or they go down in value based on their performance. You start with $100 million, which means you don't really get to start with that dream team. You don't necessarily get to have 2 of the best constructors right off the bat, plus 2 premium drivers. So you kind of have to play around with it and hope that your team does well right off the bat so you can slowly start building. So now that we've talked about our constructors, we probably have 1 slot for that really good premium driver. Let's say my 2 constructor slots are Mercedes or Red Bull, and I'd like to say Aston Martin. That's kind of where I'm at right now. That top spot, I mean, I'm going to have to give it to Max again this year. He had the most incredible end to last season. He is in that sim all year round. He definitely has driven 1,000 hours already in this 2026 car. He knows the new tech. He knows how the steering wheel works. If I can get Max in there right off the jump, I'm probably going to do it.
so I think we defer on that. I mean, I think Max is probably the best driver in the world. But if we're going to go back and lean on the cars that I think are going to do well, I don't have Red Bull as a primo right now. I have anything with the Mercedes engine, which is McLaren and Mercedes. Do I think you're going to get a repeat where Piastri comes out and runs away with it for the first 10 races or whatever? No, I don't. I don't think Lando is going to repeat as the world champion if the cars are kind of equal. I think this is the year that maybe your friend George Russell is going to make a difference. And I said that earlier. So I'm going to go Russell, and I would try and get an Antonelli in there somewhere. I do like Aston Martin. I think the engineering in Aston Martin will be as good as anybody's. Don't really like the drivers, so I don't know if I would pick up a driver.
So again, this is all speculation based on news that we're reading. I think the testing is going to play a huge part into how the season unfolds.
But last year the testing had Sainz. Sainz was all over. He was fantastic in testing last year.
We're going to have to wait a few weeks before we get anything. The next thing for the F1 world is going to be the unveil of the team liveries.
That'll be fun.
I always like that. I'm usually disappointed.
No, but there's 2 new teams this year. And I've seen their liveries, and they're outstanding.
They might be the best on the grid.
They might be. We're really happy to be back, and I hope you've enjoyed what we kind of threw your way today. I would really like to know what your comments are. Like if you have an opinion on what we've talked about, or maybe just give us your constructor or your driver or whatever. Please, we would appreciate it if you would leave a comment on.
So thanks again for tuning into this video. Craig and I were very excited to be back into the F1 season. We'd love to hear who you think the top constructors and drivers are going to be, so leave that in the comments below. If you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please show us some love by liking the video. We're going to be making lots more content for you guys before the start of the next season. So
see you soon.